All right, so as everyone's aware, today we're coming together to celebrate Yom HaShoah, which is the day set aside in the Jewish calendar to remember and mourn the 6 million Jewish lives lost that were destroyed in the Holocaust, to honor the bravery and resilience of those who survived, and to ensure that the terrors of the past do not become the future. In this time of isolation, it is imperative that we come together to share the stories of Holocaust survivors and to further disseminate Holocaust education to ensure that this never happens again. And so today is actually going to be a little bit of a different type of Yom HaShoah program, being that we have to do this virtual based on the time that we are going through right now. And we are very happy to see so many of you being part of this program. And one of the traditions that we do have is to light a Yom HaShoah candle. And I am going to be, I know Jane has the candle, so I'm just going to spotlight her. All right, Jane, you have the candle, perfect. So we light this yellow candle to rekindle God's flame, to shine God's light upon the world once again, to sanctify the memories of the millions of souls, to honor their prayers and all their lost goals. We bless their existence by being alive, to light this yellow candle as proof that we survived. So Jane, if you can light the candle for us.
Actually,
you did. Awesome. Thank you. And I am going to turn this over to actually Jane Pashman right now. And Jane is a director of our Witness Project program that we do in collaboration with UJA Federation of New York. And Jane, turn over to you.
Thanks so much. I'm so proud to be a part of the Witness Project, a program in partnership with Sid Jacobson, JCC, and the UJA. We bring together Holocaust survivors and teens. They meet on a regular basis to hear more about the survivors' lives and to create art and theater based on their stories. As a granddaughter of 4 Holocaust survivors, this program is so personal and meaningful to me. And I'm so happy to have so many of our Witness Project family join in the call. Our first guest is Zohar Lieberman, and she is joining us live from Israel. Zohar is part of the Shinshinim program. It's a group of young people who spend a year doing community service in the U.S. Jewish community. So Zohar is now back in Israel, and we'd love to hear about what Yom HaShoah is like in Israel and how you commemorate this day. So thanks, Zohar.
Hi everyone. Haven't seen you for a long time. Hope you all well and healthy as much as possible. I'm here, like Jane said, to speak a little about the commemoration of Yom HaShoah in Israel. Of course, this year it was different than any other year, but I guess the world itself is changing throughout or because of this pandemic. First, I will share what is happening on Yom HaShoah today, where I live. So when a student in Israel reaches 11th grade, she or he has a choice to go through school to something that's called the Journey to Poland, Amasa LePolin. In it, you fly to Poland, where you have the opportunity to see and to learn with your eyes about what happened in the Holocaust. To some journeys, like the one that I went to, a survivor is joined and tells his or her, in my case it was her, testimony. Well, actually showing where everything has happened. So it is a very emotional experience for both sides. In Shimshit, which is the place I live in, and in my school, those who are running the ceremony in Yom HaShoah are those who just came back from this journey. So yesterday, when Yom HaShoah began, at least here, they were the one to do a whole ceremony through Zoom for us, for all the community of Shimshit. After the ceremony, there is always a testimony every year. This year, it was a little bit different than usual. I will explain about it later. But let's say that an average student will hear in a day of Yom HaShoah somewhere between 2 to 3 testimonies in the day, which I think is a very important thing. Also, in the morning of Yom HaShoah, a few hours ago, there was something that we call it Sfira. Sfira is a noise that in a certain hour there is an awe of Israel. Everyone, really everyone, while the noise is being played, are standing quietly with respect for 2 minutes. Cars on the road are stopped driving, and drivers will leave the car to stand on the side of the road. Just for you to know, the only other day you can hear this sfira is on Memorial Day, which is in a week from now. But more than the ceremonies, Yom HaShoah in Israel includes amazing projects. One of them is called Zikaron Basalon. Maybe you heard about it. In English, it means a memory in or a memory in your living room. It is a project that invites all to host a testimony in their own living room. It is a very intimate experience, I can say from my experience. You can find yourself listening and talking to or with a survivor almost alone. And the most amazing thing is that this project is still runs even in hard times like this. This is how we heard the testimony yesterday here. So I really deeply recommend you to try and do it. Usually after the testimony, there is a whole conversation about that. And the beautiful thing about it is that it can go wherever you want it to go. So I can assure you, this is a wonderful project and wonderful experience. Actually, I know that C. Jacobson JCC is doing tonight's session about it, and you can read the details in the website. But on another subject, I believe it is a very important one. I want to speak a little about the survivors in Israel. In Israel, I don't know if you know, 80% of the population is Jewish, what means statistically that there are a lot of survivors among the elderly community compared to most parts of the world. I don't know if you know that either. Israel is not an easy place to live in, financially, money-wise. And it is very hard to see that not all of them are living in great conditions like they should. There are some organizations which are taking responsibility to that field, but we are far from being perfect. In Yom HaShoah, you can see that it changed a little bit. You can see much more caring, much more support, much more will to help from the community, from the citizens of Israel. It is a day, at least in the place I live in the area that I live in, that anyone who can is involved and give as much as possible. So yes, I agree, it cannot happen only once a year, but it's still amazing to see the good side of it happening every year all over again on Yom HaShoah. And the last subject I will talk about is specifically about this year. I don't know if you know, but people in their 60s, 70s and up in Israel are requested to stay home. Grandparents cannot, they are not allowed to see their children or grandchildren. They are not going to work, and they are just staying in their homes. For some, it is a very, very hard emotionally time. I heard the two sides of it. I heard some that are saying, okay, we're locked in our house, but at least it is to save us. It is for us. But for some survivors, it reminds of the past in some way. And it scares them how fragile they become. It feels lonely, and our responsibility in that time, in this time, it is at least to try. I can tell you that here we called elders and asked them if they need any food or medications, because some really doesn't have someone to ask for those kind of things. Okay, I will just conclude. I think this day is just a reminder for us to keep on helping, to keep on trying, to keep on never forget. Not forget the stories we are hearing, because like you all know, after we hear a testimony, we become a witness, but also not forget the people behind of it. So in here, it's actually 7:30 p.m., so Yom HaShoah is almost over. I will admit that it felt different, at least for me this year. I hope you all know it, but for any question, you can always reach me anytime you want. I hope I will see you again, but if not, wish you all happiness and luck, and that is it.
Thank you so much, Zohar. We miss you, and we hope everything's well over there in Israel, and hope to see you soon back here in the States.
Yeah, hopefully too.
Thank you, Zohar, for sharing that. And if anyone has questions for Zohar, you can also put that in the chat feature. And we miss you. Zohar is a part of our Witness Project this year. So we're glad that you're safe and back home. Our next guest is the incredible Ruth Mermelstein. Ruth has been a part of the Witness Project for 3 years, and she very bravely shares her testimony and her messages of hope and resilience with us. Ruth was born in Sighet, Romania, which is the same town as Elie Wiesel. She was sent to Auschwitz at 14 years old. Along with her sister, Ruth miraculously survived Auschwitz, Bergen-Belsen, and a death march before being liberated in April of 1945. It's an incredible story of strength and survival. Today, we'd like to spend some time talking about how Ruth managed to move on after liberation. I don't at all want to compare our current times to what Ruth went through, but there are many of us who have feelings of fear and uncertainty, and we'd love for Ruth to share with us what helped her to persevere. So first, Ruth, welcome. You can introduce yourself and bring us back to liberation and when you realized you were finally free. Where were you and what did that feel like?
Hold on one second, Ruth. Just gonna bring you up to the front. And before Ruth goes, if everyone goes, if you don't know much about Zoom, you're able to actually move this from a gallery view where you see lots of different faces over to a speaker view, and you just click where it says go to speaker view, and then you'll see a great video of Ruth right there in front of you. So Ruth, it's on to you.
Thank you very much for the introduction, Jean. Very nice of you, and it's nice to be back here with Project Witness. Yes, my story, I would start right now. 75 years ago today, practically, I was almost dead. I was unconscious. Before that, when the British came in to liberate Bergen-Belsen, I was relatively in good shape. I could welcome the British, the Scots with their skirts and the bagpipes. It was wonderful. The British also tried to get the people who could still walk, get hot showers and give them tents so they could be safe and get out from the muck of the barracks, which they did. 5 girls got a tent. My sister and 3 sisters, we had a tent to not to be in the muck in between all the dead and dying in the big barracks. But when I was in the tent, the oldest of the girls made a law. Every night it's going to be another girl's turn to close the flap of the tent. The 3rd night it was raining and I was very weak and I couldn't do it. And my sister said she was going to do it instead of me. But the older girl said, if you cannot do your duty, you have to go back to the barracks. So I crawled back to the barracks and tried to get back my spot next to the wall because my back was aching and I had that spot all this time while I was in Bergen-Belsen. And now it's those people who took over the spot next to the wall. They beat me to a pulp. So I was unconscious. I didn't know what was going on with me anymore. All through the war, I was never beaten by anyone, by Nazis or anybody, because I always worked very hard and followed orders. Now I was beat up to a pulp and I went unconscious. The British medical students came into the barracks. They had to wear rubber boots not to walk in the muck, to be able to walk in the muck. And they went around and checked out every person, every woman who was there, and made a mark on the forehead to make sure that they still had some life and they might be saved. So they must have made a mark on my forehead. And I was taken out from the muck, from the barracks, and took to the human laundry where I was washed off. And I was put into a room. They put a sheet over me and put me into a room with 11 other girls. Every morning they took out 11 dead and I wanted to live. I just had this strength. I have to survive. Subconsciously, I knew that my sister was going to look for me. And every day it was tough there because I couldn't eat. I couldn't go down from bed. And finally, after 3 weeks, my sister finds me. And she must have been very happy that I was still alive. All this time I was semi-conscious. And she went to the village and brought me some scallions, and I started to chew on the scallions, and I got stronger, and I got stronger. I just wanted to live because I knew that my family is by this time all gone except for my sister. I wanted to live for my sister. I I gathered all my strength because my father's last words were, "You are a strong girl, you are going to make it." Anyway, so when my sister brought me scallions, I started to chew on them early in the morning as soon as I opened up my eyes. And I got an appetite, and I started to eat, and I could even crawl down from the bed to the night tables where the other girls didn't touch their food. And I was eating that, and I was getting stronger. And one day I went to the window, looked out, and one of my school friends saw me. "What are you doing in that room? It's only for the dead and dying." Meanwhile, I was still there and I was alive. And one day when I sat up in my bed and the nurse comes in and she says, "You are so lucky you survived. All the other girls, he died. Oh, you must be so happy." I said, "Yes, how happy can I be? How lucky am I? I lost my family. I lost my home. I lost all my relatives, and I lost my health because I was very sick. But I still had this hope, and I pulled together all my strengths. I wanted to live. So finally, when I was getting a little bit better in Bergen-Belsen, my sister took me out from there. Israeli shalichim came into Bergen-Belsen and tried to give us some hope and tried to give us some entertainment. And I was there for about till July 9th. And then the Swedish Red Cross came in and took all the sick, most of the sick people, about 7,000 sick people to Sweden. Also, some of them who weren't so sick, like a sister or a cousin, they let them come along. And I arrived in Sweden on a boat. First, they took us to Lübeck, where we took a boat and we went to Sweden. My sister also came to Lübeck, but at Lübeck we were separated, and we were so naive we couldn't advocate for ourselves. We came in 2 separate ships to Sweden. When I arrived in Sweden, the Swedish people were very kind, but somehow they tried to test us to see how we will be able to survive. So we first had to go through a steam bath, a hot steam bath, and then go into a cold shower. It was tough. I wasn't used to that. And then we went to a quarantine for 4 weeks. It was tough. And after the quarantine, they took us to a makeshift hospital. And in the makeshift hospital, we could roam around. It was made from a school, but there were nurses and teachers and doctors there, and they tried to take care of us. But all of a sudden, my lungs were so weak, so I got pneumonia, and I was so sick then that the doctor, Dr. Leffler, she stayed with me a whole night and a whole day for 24 hours till my temperature broke. And then after it got a little bit better, they sent many of the sick people still to a tuberculosis sanatorium where we stayed for a long time. And my sister was in a different town, in a different hospital, but we got to know about each other where we wound up, and we used to call on the telephone and write letters to each other. At one point, around May or June of 46, she writes to me. She is in at a beautiful place. The Swedish government had to organize schools for students, for young under 18-year-old survivors. And she was writing that she wound up in this school where the teachers are wonderful. They're former teachers. They're from Europe, from countries. They were teachers in their own countries before, and they were wonderful. They were not treating us badly. They were showing that grown-ups, not all grown-ups are monsters. They were telling us when we came to school, you don't have to come if you don't feel like it. You don't have to study if you don't feel like it. They were treating us very nice. That school, which changed my life. When I got out from the hospital in Arvika, I went for a rehab for a couple of weeks and then wound up in this school, which will be an internet school for children from different European countries. And I was there for quite a while. Not long enough, but long enough to change my life, because the teachers there were wonderful. We had to take all kinds of studies. They gave us hope that life is going to be good. And they told us, we were taught not only Hebrew and Swedish and English and Jewish history and all kinds of good stuff, but also we were taught music appreciation, art appreciation, and classical opera, classical books to read, and to get to make the best of our lives, to really see the better things and do the better things in life. They advised us to try to get to live next to large cities, capitals, so we have access to go to see opera and concerts and ballet and drama, and that changed my life because it really opened up my eyes. And once the school had to close because most of the girls turned 18 and they had to find us jobs to go to work. So I was sent first to work with 4 other girls. For the first time we had to do everything for ourselves, which was very hard because we didn't have any parents, we didn't have any relatives who could take care of us, but we had to be strong. So 5 girls, we wound up to work close to Stockholm, to the capital, and we were going to work in a marmalade factory. Every girl, the 4 or 5 of us, had a different duty to do in the little house that we rented. But once they found out that I had tuberculosis, they didn't want I should be working with food, so they sent me back to the school, and the principal there had to find me another job. And where could he find me a job? I had to go to work in a tuberculosis hospital. I had to support myself. Life was very hard because now you are completely on your own. You are a sick orphan. Your chances in life is very limited, but I was pulling together my strengths and try to do my best. I just wanted to live. I haven't lived. I have to live for my sister and to make a life for myself now. So I was lucky. I had many lucky breaks, both during the concentration camp and now after the war. I was assigned to work in the hospital and the clinic and laboratory and outpatient department and x-ray department, and also to work in the operating room twice a week when the specialists came, medical specialists, doctors came from the city, from Stockholm, to operate out in the hospital where I was working in Söderby. I was working for a long time there. I was lucky I didn't have to change bedpans like my sister or my friends, didn't have to change sheets in the hospital rooms. I was working in the laboratory. One day I was thinking I'm going to become a lab technician too because I like that work very much. I worked very hard, but working in the operating room and seeing how patients' ribs were taken out from their back. And anyway, the first day I was in the operating room and they were opening up this patient and searing the flesh when they cut open, and the smell of burning flesh brought back the memories of Auschwitz, and I fainted. And they had to wheel me out on a gurney to another room. And when I came to, I thought to myself, I went through so much, I suffered so much, I can put up with being in an operating room, seeing a patient being operated on. I went straight back into the operating room and assisted the physicians with sterilized tools and also their sterilized gowns and so on. I worked there for almost 2 years, a year, but after a year and a half, after 18 months, the stress of being in the operating room and seeing these patients whose ribs were taken out, and I was worried that one day I'm going to have the same operation. The stress brought on that I got sick again, and they had to send me away first to rehab for 6 months, and I didn't get well, so they had to bring me back to the hospital as a patient. That was the hardest part for me, to have relapses every time I had a good job and winding up as a patient. But I still always held on hope that things are going to be better. I just always wanted to make something of myself, to get stronger, do the right thing, get fresh air all the time, which I do today too. I walk every single day when it's not raining. I try to keep up, and I want to give other people hope. I did have many jobs in Sweden because I had to support myself, but I also tried to get education. Every time I was in a rehab, I was taking correspondence courses and doing all kinds of things. I just wanted to better myself and make a better life for myself. And thank God I accomplished that, and I want to give other people hope that what I went through, and I could make something of myself and have hope that things are going to work out. I want to tell people now who are suffering so much with the coronavirus, we all live in unimaginable times. These things that's going on now has never happened before. Yes, I went through a hard time also through the concentration camp after the war also because I was so much sick. But we all have to live with hope and think that things are going to get better. And I hope so sooner than later. We all have to try to be strong, follow orders, and try to eat right as much as we can, and just help out others who cannot help themselves, and try to be kind to everybody. And I just want to say, I'm very proud of my daughter because she wrote my story, how I survived, and how the Brigadier General who came into Bergen-Belsen saved me. And she wrote this dual biography. It's going very wild all over the world practically, in England, in Sweden, in Germany, and also in Canada, also in Israel already. You can buy this book. She wrote 2 books. One is published in England and one is published in this country. My whole story is there, and I hope she had to write it just in a short time for a year, the period for a year time for the Brigadier General in my life. Anyway, she worked 15 years on this book, and I hope people are going to read it and get something out of it because it gives people hope that you can be a good person and make it a better world. I hope if anybody has any questions, I would be happy to answer you. I'm going around speaking. Yesterday I spoke last night to 6 synagogues, and I'm trying to do as much as I can, even though I'm locked up in the house. I don't go anyplace, but I'm very lucky. I have 2 daughters, one who wrote the book. She lives in Massachusetts. And we are all very worried right now because my granddaughter is expecting a baby any day. She has 2 beautiful little girls, a 2-year-old and a 4-year-old, and now she has to go into the hospital, and we worry about her. And my other daughter, Heidi, she lives close by, and she supplies me with everything that I need. She's very eager to help. All my life, I have been very, very independent and did everything for myself. I still do, but now she's very happy that she can help me. She goes shopping, and I have to give up my car because it died in the garage because I haven't been driving it, and now she drives me. She could be driving me wherever I will have to go. Thank you for listening, and I hope all these terrible times that we are going through now is going to pass. And stay strong and stay well, all of you. Thank you for listening. Any questions, anybody? I will be happy to tell you. I also want to say, I had many lucky breaks, and the luckiest break was that I got married to a survivor who happened to be already in the United States. And by luck, my sister met up with him, and he came to Sweden to marry me because I couldn't come to Sweden without him coming to Sweden to marry me. And I have been married for almost 58 years. Unfortunately, he passed away about 10 years ago. And we had a wonderful life, and I was very lucky to come to America. This is the best country in the world, and God bless America.
Thank you so much, Ruth. I know it's not easy for you to share your story, but it really does inspire all of us. And your message of hope, showing us that despite difficult times, that we can always have hope for a beautiful future, is really powerful. We talk to our students about the importance of being a witness, and everyone who hears from you and from survivors becomes a witness, and it's our duty to share that with others. So,
Jane, before you just go on, Ruth, I just want to say there's a couple of very nice comments thanking you for your story in the chat, and there's also people just want to know the name of the book again. So if you tell me, I can put it right in.
This book is published in the United States, All the Horrors of War, by Bernice Lerner.
Okay. Perfect. Thank you very much.
It could be ordered, it could go to the library, it should probably be in the libraries too by now. It just came out this month, just for the commemoration of the liberation of Bergen-Belsen. And it's a very important book. It's publicized now in all kinds of newspapers all over, because it's an apropos book for this time to give people courage that people could suffer so much. The British, how they had so much humanity at that time in Bergen-Belsen. Of course, I didn't want we should go to Palestine. As a matter of fact, I did want to go to Palestine. Many of my friends found out there. But when I went to the doctor to check me out, they said, we need healthy people in Israel. You are not eligible to come to Israel. So I didn't go to Israel. But I had many friends there, and my sister and brother-in-law and nieces lived there. And I have been 5 times to Israel, and I'm in touch still with my nieces in Israel.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much again, Ruth. And again, if anyone has questions, you can put in the chat bar and we can go back at the end and ask Ruth questions. But yeah, the book, All the Horrors of War, is published by the Johns Hopkins University Press. So you can read about Ruth's story. And her name was Rachel in the book. So, but Rachel was Ruth's original name, but it is Ruth's story. And so thank you again, Ruth. As I mentioned, it's so important to hear from our survivors. And, you know, I think hearing Ruth's story this time when Ruth was liberated, you were 15, 16 years old, which is the same age as many of the teens in the Witness Project. So for them to hear your struggles and your stories of perseverance is so powerful. And we are joined now by 2 of our teens who are in the Witness Project. And I want to hear a little bit from them about why they wanted to be a part of our program, where they hear stories from survivors and what it means to them and what they've learned from the survivors. So we have 2 teens joining us. First is Emily Levine. She's a high school senior at Schreiber High School in Port Washington. And Ben Gruber, who is a junior at Syosset High School. Let's talk to Emily first. So do you want to tell us why you wanted to be a part of the Witness Project and what you've learned from the survivors?
Sure. So hello, everyone. So what really got me interested in the Witness Project was, I mean, for as long as I can remember, this history of the Holocaust and World War II, just in general, has been a very prevalent subject in my upbringing. My grandparents who are on this call today, my grandma, her parents fled from Germany in 1938 with everything that they could, hoard in a couple of suitcases and left just as the war was breaking out. And my grandpa then, he's a retired history teacher, but he kind of devoted most of his professional life to kind of delving into the specifics of the Holocaust and World War II. So they've always kind of ingrained this importance of that specific time period into me and my brother's, upbringing and having us raised with that family history rooted inside of us. So when I found out about the Witness Project, which was last year, it seemed right up my alley. I've always loved learning more about the Holocaust and kind of like the side of my family history that I never really got to listen to firsthand, just because anyone in my family who was involved in the Holocaust directly perished. So any opportunity that I have gotten to listen to survivors, recount their testimony has been something that I make sure to, get on top of and reach out and listen to that. So yeah, the Witness Project kind of encapsulated all of that. And of course, the aspect of it where we create art in response to the testimony. That was something that extremely interests me, just because I love making art. I love reading art, seeing art, watching art. So it was really a great experience for me to just experiment visually, but also, hear the stories, learn from survivors, form relationships with survivors, meet people around Long Island who I've never met before, I've seen before. So it was just a really great experience that was unfortunately cut short, but to form new relationships and simultaneously learn more about our world's tragic history.
Thanks, Emily. Is there anything you can think of that you've learned from the survivors that helps you during this current time of the pandemic?
Yeah, I think like we're all kind of suffering from being a little stir crazy and kind of antsy in our houses, just locked up and trying to think of ways to occupy ourselves. But from hearing all of like the stories of the survivors' plights, I think it's really important to just kind of take a deep breath and like come back to the present and realize the severity of their situation and how they were able to, you know, so gracefully persevere through that, and then take into account what we can do and like the resources that the world has given us in this current time, and really take that to heart and, you know, use that as motivation to just get through these, you know, struggling times. Because if they were able to do what they were able to do during that time with such limited resources and limited connections to people, then I'm pretty confident that we can get through this also.
Thanks so much, Emily. And yeah, our program this year was cut a little bit short, but we will get together again and we will meet with the survivors again. So let's hear from Ben Gruber. As I said, Ben's a junior at Syosset High School. So Ben, can you tell us a little bit about why you wanted to be a part of the Witness Project and some of the lessons that you've learned?
Sure. Well, my parents, they went to the show last year at the Tilly Center, and they came home raving about it and said that I had to be in it. I've always been interested in the Holocaust in school, textbooks. Like it's always been something that I want to learn more about. I've never worked with Holocaust survivors before, so that was definitely very interesting. But then when the project started, it was insane. Like listening to everyone's stories, what they've been through, and just like that they're still here, you know, that they persevered and pushed through all that. It's crazy. I've learned from the survivors to not really sweat the small stuff in life. I mean, everyone has their issues and everything, but if they can survive the Holocaust and go through all of that and come out smiling and happy today, it's a lot. It's pretty strong.
Thanks so much, Ben. And one of the lessons that we talk to the students about is really just looking for messages of hope. And Ruth and the survivors tell us about people who stepped in and helped. Even from Ruth's story today, you could see, you know, the teachers and her sister, family members, and the community that helps out. And I know our survivors really appreciate from our students, hearing from them. I know, Ben, I think your family recently dropped off groceries at one of our survivors' homes. So, you know, as much as we learn from the survivors about strength and resilience, we also want to make sure that we all help those most vulnerable and needy. So, so thanks to Emily and Ben. Yeah, I want to, as I mentioned, being a witness means that we need to remember and keep sharing these stories. So I hope that you all will remember Ruth's story. You can read the book to hear more about her story, and keep telling these stories so that we never forget. And now, Paul, I'll hand it back over to you for the next part of our call.
Thank you, Jane, and thank you so much, Emily and Ben and Ruth and Zohar. So the next part, we actually brought in someone from Israel to be part of this conversation. Rakefa Ginsberg is the Deputy Director of the Community Outreach Unit at Natal, which aims to advance the resiliency of the Israel society. And today we'll share a crucial tip to help us remain calm and informed during COVID-19. So I'm very happy and excited to invite Rakefa to be part. There's Rakefa right now, and make sure you're unmuted. There you go, and you're on.
First, I want to say it was exciting to hear, you know, the teens, what they talked about their experience, and of course Ruth, and learning about people from firsthand experience. I'm a social worker. I'm from Natal, and we're working with people in Israel about resilience and how they can increase their resiliency and their community resilience. This is going to be a short introduction to something that we actually probably going to talk about more later in a week or two, but I wanted to share with you some of the things that we already know and understand about resiliency for people and for people who work in the community and involved in the community in general, and of course for every one of us personally in addition. I'm gonna put, I hope it's gonna work for us to put the presentation on. Let me see if it works. Does it? Share screen. It doesn't give me the option to put the presentation. Is it something that
I just gave you the ability, so you should have it now.
Okay. Okay. Let's see. That works for us. Do you see that now?
Yes.
Good. Okay. That's it. We're talking about, when we talk about this situation specifically in general, we're talking about the fact that our continuities in life were break and we're broken, and we're trying to keep functioning and working and living and do whatever we want to do and live, you know, have as normal life as we can in a situation when many things in our life actually are broken or broke down. We're talking about, in this COVID-19 specifically, this whole interpersonal relationship, all the relationship that we have with people, and how we deal with situations with people. Who do we meet? Who do we see every day? You know, being in a quarantine means that we don't see people that we used to see on a daily basis, on even, you know, family or other people that we used to meet or see once in a while. So breaking those relationships and breaking the ability to meet people, of course, is very, very strong in this situation. But we're talking about this whole functional things that we do, our roles in life in general, things that we used to do, how we function as professionals, how we function as friends, as parents, as son or daughters to our parents. How do we relate to other people on a that we have some role with them, we do something on a, and again, it means that we visit them or we talk to them or we give some orders to people that we need to, or we hire people. What do we do? How do we work with people around us? And the situation that broke this all, you know, continuity is very crucial in this situation. And of course, how do we understand the situation in general? We understand crisis. How do we understand this situation? Now, we've heard before today, how do you feel when you hear, what do you think going to happen? Do you believe that things going to be better soon? It's going to be something that I can understand, that it's going to change soon. Is it happening in terms of weeks, days, months? What do I think is going to happen in the future? How do I plan my future? This whole thing is change, and it changed also the way I see myself functioning. I used to see myself dealing with situations like this or like that. I'm very optimistic, but now being at home for so long, it may make me much more disturbed or frustrated. What does it mean for me to function in a situation that I talk to people only by Zoom and don't see them personally? That I can't get out and, you know, just walk outside a little bit. This whole situation changed the way I deal with situations, and how I know myself dealing with different situations, especially when it's not a one-time thing. It's not just a week or a day or a month. It takes longer than that. I don't know how long you're in a quarantine already, but it seems like it's a long process for all of us. And even when they open, you know, when we can get out again, we can see that in Israel already, that it's very slow, and things are coming back very slow, and you can do everything, and there are very new things that you have to put again in your life, that change the way you feel and that change the way you know yourself functioning in. So this is something that is this is a situation that is pretty new for all of us, and it's all over the world. We can't run away from it. Now, when we talk about crisis, usually we talk about a situation, for a short time or very specific situation that's happening in a specific time. And we're talking already about a routine. I mean, we're in it for a few weeks already, and as I said, it's going to be long. And emergency routine means we have to think and say, okay, it's not today or tomorrow that I have to plan. I have to think for the long term, and it may be longer than the time that I thought, I can stay at home and just do things that I do on a regular basis. I need to plan it. It's not just in between until I'm going to get back to my normal life, because our normal life going to be different, and it's going to take time until we're going to get back to the same situation that we were before. So building a routine and talking about emergency routine is part of understanding that this is our way to deal with the situation. Now, I'm going to touch very, very few things that may help us to understand and explain to ourselves how to deal with it. It's some tips that some of it you probably know. I mean, this model, and we have models that explain what are the things that we should do. I've tried to take the basic things that are things that go all over the world with almost everyone. Now, for some people, it's stronger they choose some motives that are stronger than others. Some people feel that in certain days they feel more comfortable with some things to do, in other days with other things. But those are things that it's very important for us to remember, that they can help us to get through this situation, and not just us, our families, our relatives, the people we talk to, and the people we care about, because part of that is how we do things for others, and we get others to be motivated and do that. So relaxation, of course, is, it starts from breathing and sleeping good, have a good sleep at night, and make sure that your body is calm as possible, because many times we feel very nervous. And again, being at home for such a long time is it's not an easy thing for any of us. Many people, even if they don't get out every day, they do that few times a week usually, and being at home day after day after day, when you can't get out, or you get out only for a very, very short time for shopping, grocery store or something like that, it's very limiting our life and our ability to feel calm sometimes. And for many people, it's important to remember, take a breath, do some relaxations to your body, because it's important to move your body in general, but to have it relaxed as well. Normalization is part of understanding that this is our routine right now. So if we feel frustrated, that's okay. I mean, it's normal to feel frustrated in such a situation. It's also, many times we say about people that deal with those complicated or hard times, it's a normal reaction for an abnormal situation. It's an abnormal situation what we're having right now. It's not normal to live like that. We all understand that, and that's why it's very normal to feel disturbed, to feel angry, to feel whatever, not motivated to do things at home. And I mean, I hear a lot about people that at the beginning they were very active at home and did many things that they wanted to do and planned for a long time, and then 2 or 3 weeks later they felt like they don't want to do anything anymore. That's it. It's normal. It's normal to feel like that. Knowing that it's normal makes us, help us to feel, I'm okay. I'm not losing my mind yet. It's okay for me, and I have to talk about it. And it's important to say and talk with other people and share it with other people as well. Of course, relationship, I mean, I don't have to talk about it a lot. I mean, you all probably know talking to other people and being in relations with other people. But I want to say here, and something that we all talk about, and you talk about it, and especially when you work with relatives or elderly around us, understanding that we have to keep relations, to keep our relationship, to talk to people, to be able to share with them, talk to them, and very intensively make sure that they know that they're not alone. Because this isolation at home doesn't mean that we have to be social isolation. It's a physical isolation, and it's important for us to remember that. We have to believe and understand that it's going to be, we're going to be together, and we are together, as even though we're separated in different houses. So again, it's kind of a very basic introduction. I don't get it. I mean, you can see, I don't think I have time to talk a lot more than that, right, Paul?
Another minute or two, I would say, just yeah.
Okay, because I know the time is very limited here. I want to say that it's important for us to remember that we know it's temporary, we know it's going to be okay. It's going to take a while, but we're going to be okay. This hope and understanding is something that is, again, part of our belief. We all understand, we heard it from Ruth talking about how important it was for her to feel that there is somebody else can help her. There is some kind, believing that there is a help there. We're going to be fine. Of course, I can't, I mean, we'll get through this and we will be fine, and it's going to take time, but we have to remember and plan even for the next day, for things that's going to happen when this situation will be over. So having this hope and understanding is very important. So as I said, routine, and remember that it's a long process. Prepare to that, build your routine, a daily routine, think about what are the things that you want to do. It's not temporary, it's not just today, it's going to take time. So plan when you want to wake up, what do you want to do during the day, plan your week ahead. What are the things that you want to do next week? What are the things that you want to accomplish? It's okay to understand that there are days that are harder than others, but still don't give up. I mean, still keep planning and keep being active, being at home, eating a lot, walking to the fridge and back. It's very nice. It's not healthy for us. We have to remember that we have to move at home. It's easy to give up and say, I don't do that if I don't go to the gym. It's very important. Again, it's a long process. It's going to be a long time. So we have to remember to do some things that's going to keep our health. Otherwise, finishing this term and leaving the house and then feeling like we can't move anymore, or our body, we hurt ourselves. It's not, that wasn't the meaning when we've been asked to stay home. So it's important for us to keep these active things that we do in life and make sure that we, even if it's hard for us, we're still doing and not just waiting at home. We're going to have another session that's going to be all devoted to all focused on practices and things that we can do and how we can understand each one of that and each one of those objects, and understand how we can practice that on a daily in our days or in our regular life, and how we can help others to implement that in their way to cope with the situation. So I don't know. I mean, I don't know how you send this out, the date and the time, but I'm sure it's going to be very soon.
Absolutely, and if you send us that information, Rakeva, we'll make sure to share that with the larger JCC community.
Mm-hmm. Of course.
Well, thank you so much.
There are questions or things you want? Oh, okay.
If anyone does have any questions, you can feel free to write them right in the chat, whether it's for Rakefet or Ruth or Ben or Emily or any of the other people who spoke today. While we give everyone a couple of minutes to write any questions that they may have in the chat feature, I do want to say thank you to a number of different people who really helped make this program happen first, I did see there were a number of JCC staff on this call, including our executive director, David Black. So thank you for being part of it. And so a number of people from UJA, including Dina and Stuart Tauber. So we want to thank you for being part of that as well. And our speakers, Zohar and Ruth and Emily and Ben and Rakefet, as well as the people who helped put this program together, including Stacy and Taylor and Jane and Gilly. So thank you all for helping make this so great. And it looks like in the chat feature, Taylor mentioned that Rakefet will be back on Tuesday at 10 o'clock, I guess next Tuesday at 10 o'clock. So more information will be sent out. I assume, Stacy, I'm going to unmute you. I guess you'll send it out to your mailing list.
Rakefet is going to be joining us for our REACH program next Tuesday. Please note for those regulars to REACH, we are going to have a slight time change. That way, because Rakefet is in Israel, she can join us at a normal time instead of so late. But yeah, so next Tuesday, please join us at 10 o'clock, and I will send out a reminder email.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Stacy. And in case you have any friends who were unable to be on this call today and part of the REACH program today, we will be, this program has been recorded and we are going to be posting it on our JCC website and on our Facebook page, so you can get access to it right there and share it with any of your friends who was unable to be part of this amazing program. I do want to thank everyone for being a part of it. Stacy, is there anything you have, or is anyone else who has any other things to add?
It just looks like from the chat that people are just saying thank you to all of our guest speakers. And yes, thank you so much. Pauline said, Ruth, I was struck by your comment related to the arts and hope, how you described your education in Sweden in literature and opera. Was this a big factor in sustaining hope for you?
Yes, you can hear me?
Yes, we can hear you now.
Yes, all the better things in life that our teachers were trying to give us, to teach us, it really inspired us to keep hope up. Things are going to be better. We have to surround ourselves with beautiful things and nice thoughts and keep our hope up.
Thank you for sharing. Just a lot of thank yous. Thank you to everyone. Thank you, Paul, for helping me run this. Thank you, Jane. Thank you to everyone. Thank you to Taylor for helping. Zohar, Rakefet, Paul, Emily, thank you. Thank you to anyone new who came to join us today. It was really meaningful. For those who I see very frequently, it's lovely to see you all. And anyone else has anything? Now's your chance. Okay.
Well, thank you, everybody. We hope you have a great rest of the day, and we look forward to seeing you on another program soon. Take care.
Definitely. Take care. Bye.